Sup Shredders, my name is Logan, aka Spiderhands, and welcome to an SP Reacts, where today we got ourselves a track from an act named Sophia Montecarlo titled Alone. And if we switch over to here, we got ourselves a track on the screen on YouTube. We'll get the art up there on the screen for Alone. This is not the first track that Sophia has released. We've previously had White Flag as well as Someone Special and Hakitu Bagai di Sankare Mas. We're good to check out this track today from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. Let's do it. What we got? Nice. I like how active it is with the different instruments. Kind of spoiled with leads at this stage, aren't we?
I hear the ticking of the clock. I'm lying here, the room pitch dark. I wonder where you are tonight. No answer on the telephone. And the night goes by so very slow. Oh, I hope that it won't end though. Alone.
Major turn.
Till now, always goodbye on my own. I never really cared till I met you. And now it chills me to the bone. How do I get you alone? How do I get you alone?
Great vibrato there.
You don't know how long I have wanted to touch your lips and hold you tight. Oh, you don't know how long I have waited, and I was gonna tell you tonight. But the secret is still my own, and my love for you is still unknown. Alone. Till now, I always goodbye on my own. I never really cared till I met you. And now it chills me to the bone. How do I get you alone? How do I get you
Great transfer from the guitar to vocals there. I like how the piano follows along with some of those vocal melodies we heard earlier. I think it was doing it during it as well. But yeah, fantastic track. Really solid. And we're going to talk about it more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Sophia Montecarlo titled Alone. In this section I'm going to provide an overall song analysis of everything from lyrics and vocals all the way through to studio production as well as any applicable constructive critique. And then finally my general thoughts from a listener's perspective. Before we go any further, what do we think this track is about? I think this is about the intense feelings that Sophia has as they sit in their room alone in the pitch black night and the darkness there, wanting to get this person alone because of how they feel for them, just wanting to have that raw connection to them, something very special and intimate with them. And there was this part around the midway section, maybe the second chorus, where we just bell out of nowhere and there's this magnificent kind of fry and vibrato to it, vocal fry. And I just adore the way that we presented ourselves there. I thought it was very authentic and it was a great show of force in terms of our vocal technique, but just the passion behind that was huge. And it was like, whoa, we're really going for it, So I liked the way that we handled this here. I think the story is accessible. I feel like it seems, again, authentic and honest from Sophia, and I think it's great, and I think they've got a good thing going if this is any indication as a first, impressions. Going on to the vocal technique and what's going on the mic in general there, I think we're very comfortable in a head and chest voice. Sophia has these belts and this kind of vocal fry in certain parts. We have great dynamic control there. We had some backing vocals as well. They could have potentially been a little bit wider in the mix just to kind of spread them around a little bit, but I do like the way that they were presented ultimately. It was nice to also know to kind of hand things over to the guitar lead for an alt solo there. And I just think it was just a very fragrant performance. It reminded me with the EQ and compression and the reverb of like some of the ballads that I heard from the 80s, some of the guitar, piano, bass, and drum ideas as well. It's very cool. I think in addition to this, it was just really neat to have the variety of different ways that we approached those vocal lines and stuff like that as well there. We were never taking the listener's attention for granted. So the note choices made a lot of sense. Some of those legato runs included some sort of chromatics as well, some notes outside the scales, which are kind of neat. And it brought the fire with it. I think the track itself, outside of a really sort of exciting vocal performance at 4 minutes 17, is well presented with a mixture of different instrumental, verse, bridge, and chorus parts with, again, that solo there. And it's just nice to have that much within it to, again, as I mentioned, keep the listener's attention on it, some engagement. You have those very tender strings coming out of nowhere at the start, slowly kind of building there. And they have this warm, this bass as well there. It's kind of ominous sounding, like there's a bit of danger. We have the brass as well there with the trumpets there. There's a very distinct melody there to kind of not really give too much away immediately, but almost to sort of set a feeling of what kind of key signature we might be in, the minor leaning. To then have the distorted guitars coming in on the sides there with those power chordal elements there. The choirs, playing those kind of chordal passages in the mid to upper range on top there. The drums nice and punchy as well. And I like the feedback on those drums, on the tom hits, on the snare hits, the way they resonate within the mix. I thought that was really special. To have a kind of a string solo after all that, without having had Sophia Montecarlo come in to kind of lead us through it further, is just kind of neat. It's really nice just to explore a full accompaniment, almost like the scene is being said. And we come into the keys performing a full accompaniment function there with the left and right hands, the left kind of revolving around those main sort of chords or octaves or fifths, and the right hand on beats or syncopated with that, just kind of exploring these progressions and triads and adding some little kind of like note articulations there to kind of make it a bit more exciting, some runs going between different chords. But we switch things up. We don't stay on the keys for too long. We switch to this kind of really fascinating bridge part where things kind of lift up a little bit there. And I like the mixture and playfulness of the major and minors there. It's almost like we're in a state of suffering through the verse, but in the bridge, there's a bit of hope at the end of the tunnel there. It's a nice sort of transfer. And just that ding, ding, ding is kind of like the clock hands, We just have this massive force behind the fry of the vocals though in the chorus. And it's just so cool. I just like how the bells continue through the hook lines. And there's other elements of kind of wonderment as well there. We have this natural dynamic range to the piece because we're not over compressing the studio side of it. It sounds commercial grade. Like it sounds like a lot of the ballads, the rock ballads that I'd heard from like the 80s and stuff like that. Even that guitar solo, the tone of that lead kind of messing around with some sort of tremolo-y kind of stuff, some wide vibratos, hammer-ons and pull-offs, playing some notes that are kind of relevant to what the vocalist, Sophia was singing earlier on there, paying homage to that, whilst being a bit more kind of fancy and technical and intricate with the speed and capacity of it. To kind of have those synth pads and strings and everything else in the choirs come down after all that, to then, have that final piano line that reiterates upon that initial verse motif, and then to fade out is just a wonderful journey to go on. And I want to sort of comment very quickly on some of the structural interests that I had, such as, again, that second chorus, not having the vocals for a moment. It's very clever because you're kind of going, where is the hook line that I was expecting here? And when we belt like that, we just go push like that. It's just, whoa, it kind of catches you by surprise. I've reviewed thousands of songs at this point, and that's not something I've had occur, and I'm very thankful for that we're still doing new things. But I just love how well fleshed out a lot of the different instrumental components are, the string sections as well, the violins, the cellos, etc., the drums with some interesting sort of quarter eighth, 16th note grooves on the hi-hats, cymbals, toms, etc., as well as the crashes being nice and bashful, the bass being nice and sort of stringent in the low and providing the ground floor. Just everything's kind of pushed forward with its strengths. But yeah, very, very neat. And I think this track is it's less oriented around a specific chord line, progression and bass line in regards to the theme, but more about the journey you take through the different angles and perspectives between our feelings about the verse or during the verse and the hook line and then the choruses as well. But yeah, honestly, it's glorious. You kind of come out of that darkness of the minor leaning with the triads and arpeggios through that hook line with the verse line, should I say, with the piano, and then you kind of have things again rising up, as I mentioned, during the bridge, literally sort of crescendoing into that hook line where things are just glorious and bombastic, and you're just kind of singing along with that and just really appreciating it. So I think the journey you take there is more about the progression rather than trying to elicit a set mode. The studio recording, the studio production, recording, mixing, and mastering is really tight. I like the way that the vocals have been handled within the mix. I think, again, they have an adequate amount of EQ and compression, reverb, etc. Without needing to fix a performance, Sophia Montecarlo can definitively sing. I'm very satisfied with what they put forward on the mic today. I think that the guitars on the right side are nicely sort of double tracked there, nice chunky guitars there with the lead in the center, which makes perfect sense. Again, the background vocals, as I mentioned, could have been a little bit wider in the mix, but that's totally okay. The basses, the drums with the toms going around the sides of the stereo field are well positioned as well. The strings, any sort of other elements that I haven't mentioned yet, the kind of the synth basses and pads that we had as well are neat, and then the piano as well is just graceful in the mid-range there, nicely panned and EQ'd as well to sort of have presence. There is a more than adequate dynamic range to this, difference between quiet and loud notes there. There's life that's breathed into it, and it's nice and loud, but it sort of side chaining from the kicks, bus compression, and limiting is handled. And again, I think the reverb tails on a lot of these instruments do remind me of music from that era, so I'm just thankful that we included those as well. No applicable constructive critique to aside from the panning stuff I mentioned there, and that's a very subjective thing, and from a final general listener's perspective, I'm really stoked and satisfied with what I've heard today from Sophia Montecarlo. I think they've got a great thing going. I wish them all the best and luck in future with this as they continue to. I'm not necessarily sure what the overall angle of this is. I think they're sort of exploring their options at the moment, and I feel like those options have been, that they were good choices. But thank you for watching my review of this track from Sophia Montecarlo, titled Alone, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show us some love via the various social medias, as well as on Spotify and Apple Music, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as they need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. And I'll catch you in the next SP Reacts. Spiderhands out.